Hello, and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Well, I'm fighting a cold, so I probably don't sound like my usual self, and I'm going to try to get through this without coughing too much, but I will edit it out if I do.
The fans want to know, do you have COVID?
I do not. So my brother works at a hospital, and he was working in the pediatric unit, and they were seeing a lot of different types of viruses, none of which were COVID, thankfully, and he ended up catching it. He said all the nurses had also gotten sick, and he ended up giving it to me as well. Plus, we've all been vaccinated, so chances of it being COVID are not great. My dad got it as well, and he did get tested, and it was negative for COVID, so I think we're all good. It was something else.
Well, speaking of something else, this is kind of a big news week.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff happened this last week. Gamescom was going on, so the people were showing off stuff. A big one that I think we're going to start out with is Bungie finally did an update on what they're doing with Destiny. So, I have you played Destiny in a while?
No.
Yeah.
I bought the last DLC, I think, and I played it for maybe 2 hours.
So
I was just like, I don't know. I don't think I can do it anymore.
So I did not buy the last one. So the last one, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that brought stasis abilities.
Yes, I did not like that.
I saw a trailer for that. I was like, this is going to be a nightmare, especially in PvP. And so I was like, I think I'm out. And so I just never bought it, never played it. And that did prove to be like an ongoing issue in the community where people were just like, nerf the stasis abilities. It's awful, being frozen in place, constantly. And I don't know if they have. Now, I did log in and play a bit on Stadia like a couple days ago, because I watched this Destiny stream and it got me kind of feeling a little bit nostalgic. And it immediately launched me into the first mission where you like start getting your stasis abilities. And I didn't pay for anything, so I'm wondering if that's just like part of the free stuff you get with Destiny 2 now?
It's unclear to me. It's confusing because now that crossplay is now enabled, which is great.
Yes.
But you still have to buy specific things on specific platforms, I believe. So like if I bought the latest expansion on PS4, I can play my character on Stadia, but all that stuff is locked to me unless I walk downstairs to my PS4.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bummer. I don't want to double dip on stuff I'm only kind of interested in.
It's true. It would be ideal if Bungie made it so that you bought stuff on your account and not on a specific platform. Because then you could, because of the fact that there's cross-save and there's cross-play, it would be ideal if you could just buy everything once and then access it no matter which platform you choose to play on at any given day. And now, for them, I guess the idea is that, well, because there is cross-save and cross-play, you really can just pick whichever platform you want and just, like, stick with it. And you should be able to play with everybody on no matter which console or PC they choose to play on. So I guess it makes sense, but, like, also, like, you and I started on PS4, and then I moved to PC, and now more and more I'm thinking if I do return to Destiny, I'll probably be on Stadia just because of the constant updates and not wanting to have to use so much storage space on my PC for Destiny.
That is the problem with like a living game like that, is if I skip like 3 months and I'm like, you know what, I do kind of want to jump into Destiny. If I turn my PS4 on, or even my PC,
you've got a million things to download.
Yeah, it's going to download for like an hour, and then I can finally jack in. Whereas if it's Stadia, that's all done for me, and I can. And also the load times on Stadia are super low. Probably. So I tried it out on Stadia when I first started trying out Stadia, And probably the worst thing about it was there wasn't crossplay and nobody was playing on Stadia, and that problem has been solved. now you have the whole player base you can get access to. I mean, like you, I did kind of get nostalgic when I was watching that stuff. I think the best Destiny has ever been was the Taken King. That was a good time, and it seems like they're trying to maybe harken back to that with, this is Savathun is like is very similar as an antagonist to the Taken King. I don't know, man. A lot of the things they've done in the story have kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Just like Stasis, the darkness as a whole thing, it seems like they're kind of wrapping up that storyline, even though it was supposed to be the big thing.
Yeah.
I a little bit want them to make a Destiny 3 or to just reset everything, because it's all too complicated now. I never learned about mods. I don't know about, like, this is going to incorporate weapon crafting. There's a whole part of the tower I never even went to where you have to, like, get, like, weapon cores. I don't know. But, like, I've checked out for so long. I want something, like, fresh. And Bungie is working on a new game, but who's to say if it's the same type of game, but...
Yeah, so I remember them making it sound like sort of a big thing they kept talking about was the Darkness Saga. They were kind of trying to make it sound like the Infinity Saga from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they were like, so we're wrapping up the Darkness Saga here in the next, like, couple of years. And so... because this was originally supposed to be like a 10-year project for them.
It's true. Yeah, I remember them saying that.
And that ends, so what, in like 2024, 2025?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know if that's when they're bringing the Darkness Saga to an end, or if they're going to wrap that up sooner than that and then sort of start down a different path. I don't know if their plans are to continue Destiny beyond that, and it's now, like, grown beyond, like, a 10-year thing, or if they do intend to, like, wrap things up and just move on to something else by the time that 10 years is up.
I don't know. To me, it feels like it's just this tower that's been slapped together over so many, so many things, like, are in the foundations of this tower that don't need to exist anymore, but you can't remake the foundations, and, like, the peaks of the tower are just these slapped-on things that kind of makes sense, but you can go completely, you can ignore them completely. I feel like they just need to wipe it all out. I mean, obviously people still like Destiny, or some people do, but
right.
I don't know. I wish we could go back to the Taken King days, Yeah. And maybe, I don't know. I probably will check out this new DLC. I don't know if I'll buy it, but I definitely am going to watch coverage of it. And the glaive is not super interesting to me as a new gameplay type thing.
And a new weapon was like a first-person melee weapon.
I also thought a glaive was a thing you threw. Like, I thought it was like a giant shuriken type thing. Am I wrong about that? Is a glaive just a halberd?
I guess it is. Glaives, when I think of a glaive, I don't know why I think of the Monster Hunter glaive, and that, like, sort of, you are sort of throwing something, but it's not necessarily the weapon itself. And so there is, like, an aspect of, like, ranged attack with it, because the glaive in this game, or in Destiny 2, will have like a pulse shot that you do, but it's sort of close range. I don't know. I think it is more like a halberd.
That's it, because the first time I ever heard of a glaive, have you ever seen the movie Krull?
Is that
Krull?
Is that the 80s movie?
Yeah, he has a glaive in that, and it is just like a crazy 5-point throwing star thing with extending blades.
Yeah.
That is, like, I think sentient? I don't really remember. But I guess I'm looking at it now, and a glaive, I guess, is also just like a knife on a stick. But that's fine.
I was going to say, there's a glaive in... Or maybe it's not a glaive. I don't know what they call it. There's something like that in... what's that medieval melee game I've been playing? Chivalry 2.
Chivalry 2.
And you can throw every weapon in that game, so I guess it doesn't necessarily be restricted to the glaive type. But
now, something I am interested in, shifting gears a little bit, similar to similar to Destiny is Halo.
Yes.
We've been playing a little bit of Splitgate, not to skip ahead. And I've been enjoying it, but I have to say, I feel like I would prefer Splitgate without portals, which is just Halo.
Yeah.
And they did at Gamescom. They said that Halo, the campaign as well as the multiplayer, but not co-op campaign or Forge, is coming out on December 8th. And I think this is something. The multiplayer is free, and it's I think something I am going to download.
I got into Game Pass on PC, and I've been playing some of Psychonauts 2 recently, which we can talk more about later. But yeah, they already have a thing where it's like you can pre-download Halo Infinite, and I was like, oh really? Like it's super early. Like the game isn't out till December 8th, right?
Yeah, that is crazy that you can already pre-download it.
I saw a notification about it. I haven't clicked on it, but
I wonder if they're going to do another tech test like they did with the multiplayer a couple weeks ago.
Could be. Yeah. Maybe that's what they're referring to, but
because I watched a good amount of that multiplayer stuff, and I have a deep nostalgia for Halo multiplayer. That was a lot of my high school, was like going to people's houses and doing LAN games with 2 Xboxes. And this looks great. I mean, it looks like there's not a bunch of crazy extra stuff like equipment you have to manage and stuff. It's just classic. You can pick up an overshield if you want, or like cloaking, or there's like an extra shield you can pick up. But it seems like basically Splitgate without the portals, which is kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed Splitgate as well. We played it together like last week, I think.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and it definitely reminds me of Halo because basically all the weapons are the same as like Halo weapons, and all the game modes are pulled straight from Halo. And then, they just added portals to it to like switch things up. And yeah, I think I would prefer a version of that didn't have the portals because they confuse me. And I know that when I play Splitgate, I'm not using the portals, and I probably should be. But
do you have any interest in playing the campaign of Halo?
I might check it out just because, like, for now I'm subscribed to Game Pass on PC, so I'll be able to download it. I think I would not if I had to buy it. Is maybe the thing. Because it's free, I might check it out.
How do you access games on Game Pass?
Well, on PC, so Microsoft has their sort of Xbox for PC launcher.
Okay.
And you sub to Game Pass, and then you can just like start downloading games.
Do you use what account? Do you have like an old Xbox 360 or Xbox Live account? Or
yeah, so I logged in with my Hotmail account, which is what I used back in the day when I was on Xbox 360. Wow. And so yeah, it's got my my old profile there, and like all my old friends from the 360 days popped up.
Wow.
It's crazy. But yeah, blast from the past.
This is something I am going to check out though. On maybe not on December 8th, but I will probably download this game, the multiplayer, the free version, and play a couple matches because I am I don't know like what their map situation is like. Like I would love for them to have some sort of remaster of some of the classic maps like Blood Gulch or whatever they called it, Coagulation, in the second one.
Well, and now that it's like separate from the like main campaign and it's free to play, like that sounds to me like this is going to be sort of like a Fortnite thing that's just sort of ongoing, and they will not have to like in 2 to 3 years time release a new multiplayer that everybody migrates to. This will just be like it's Halo multiplayer from now on, and it's just there, and they can constantly update it and add content to it. So they, even if it doesn't start out with like retro maps, they could always add those later.
I'm interested for sure, especially when they come out with Forge. I would assume, I actually don't know. Forge, I wonder if that will be a paid thing or if it will be rolled in, because the amount of community generated content that would produce would be insane. Especially, I mean, if it was a free thing. I know that Fortnite has a creative mode, but I know nothing about Fortnite.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's something I didn't know I was excited for until I played Splitgate and realized I do have a little bit of nostalgia for that type of game.
Yeah, it was the same way. So I had never got super into Halo, but I did kind of enjoy briefly Halo 3, and I enjoyed maybe a little bit more Halo Reach. And so it was cool to jump into Splitgate. I was kind of not like super amped up to play that, but you asked if I wanted to join you. I was like, yeah, I'd check it out since it's free. And I ended up being pleasantly surprised by it and kind of enjoyed it. So, and that alone made me more excited to play Halo, because I was not really anticipating it. I was like, yeah, I'll probably download it and check it out. But now I'm like, I actually do want to download it and play it now. So I think Splitgate is sort of, it's having its moments, and I think it's going to just get people like geared up to play Halo once that comes out. And I feel like Splitgate is really going to be hurting for players once Halo Infinite comes out. So
yeah, it's like that. Remember when Fall Guys was really popular for like 2 weeks and then everyone forgot about it?
Yeah.
But I skipped around the Gamescom footage. I didn't watch the full thing. I didn't watch anything about the new Call of Duty Vanguard, but I know it's about World War II.
Yeah,
right?
that was really the only thing I was going to say about it. It was like, I think Call of Duty is not going to be something I'm going to... Like, I've not been super into Call of Duty for a long time now, but I did pick up the last one just because it was like Modern Warfare. And I didn't play a ton of it, but I kind of enjoyed it because it was sort of a return to like Modern Warfare. And because this is back to World War II again, I'm just like, meh, I will probably not play this.
Yeah.
Especially because like Battlefield 2042 will be out, and also then later in December, Halo will come out. So it's just like, there's no, I'm not going to be tempted this year to jump into Call of Duty. And even if, I feel like it's going to be competing with itself because of Warzone, which is like an ongoing thing. So I'm really curious if they're going to have like a down year in terms of sales for Call of Duty, because one, they've returned to a past setting, but also they're competing with themselves and like some other big hitters in the industry. So I don't know.
Are you interested in that Riders Republic?
Not particularly. It's not really my type of game, but I know like people are hotly anticipating it after they showed that trailer at E3 earlier this year. And I just wanted to mention that there's going to be like an open beta on PC and console once. So if you are looking forward to it, you'll have a chance to check it out before it actually comes out.
Now, what did you think about this Sifu game? This martial arts game where you are getting older and older, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this game. I think it looks pretty cool. It almost seems like maybe it is a roguelike where every time you like die, you come back older.
There's got to be a limit to that, though, because if you die a ton...
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think there is some sort of gameplay mechanic where when you die, you age a little bit. But I mean, at some point, you're going to get so old, it's not going to be... You're just going to be like a skeleton, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work. I'm very curious to see. But I like watching the trailer for it. Like, it does appear to be gameplay, but even with that, I still don't understand how it's played. So I'm very curious to see more about the game. They did announce a release date for February 22nd. February is going to be like the new November, where it seems all of the big games come out.
A ton of stuff is coming out, because Horizon Forbidden West is also coming out February 18th, they revealed.
And Destiny's DLC, The Witch Queen, will come out on February 22nd as well. And a new Saints Row.
Yeah, so the other thing they revealed is a complete reboot of Saints Row. We were talking about this before we started recording, but they a little bit wrote themselves into a corner with Saints Row 4. I played that. That's the only one I've played. And I believe that game starts with the world exploding because of aliens. And then that game is basically you just like jack into the matrix that the aliens have created, and you're just like running around the matrix and you have crazy matrix powers. And that game was great. I really enjoyed it, having like no further information about the Saints Row universe besides that one. So this is a completely new one. You play as some lady called the Boss. I think you were called the Boss in the previous series as well. But they released a cinematic trailer, and then yesterday they released like a very brief amount of gameplay footage as well. But How does this look to you, Zach? I mean, I have not played a game where you can steal cars and drive around in them since
GTA 5 on the 360.
Man, was that no? Watch Dogs 2 was the last kind of GTA-esque thing I played.
I mean, I played Watch Dogs Legion, so that's still...
Yeah, so you have recently played something, I guess.
Yeah. So that's pretty fresh in my memory. I don't know. I have not played the Saints Row games. I've always heard really good things about them, just because of how insane they are.
4 is crazy.
In my understanding, it's like just a more insane version of GTA.
Yeah, it's like a not a parody, but it's like a more comedic take on it. It's definitely like heightened, like what do they call that? What's it called? Like not magical reality, but like it's
fantasy,
insane stuff. Not fantasy. I don't know what I'm thinking of, but yeah, it's not like set in the real world basically, because there's like crazy. I don't know if they're going to bring this back, but there was like not Professor Elgato, but like there was a crazy mascot in the one that I played that was this crazy cat-headed man who had like insane, was it Dr. Tsushima or something? I don't remember. But I don't know, man. This looks a little bit more grounded in reality, except everyone's wearing those crazy motorcycle helmets with like graphics on them.
Which looks a little Watch Dogs Legion to me as well.
Yeah, I would not put it past them to have like an alien invasion in this game, or like zombies come out of nowhere, or something crazy. Because maybe it's heightened reality. I don't remember, but I don't know. I will probably watch someone play this, but I don't know if I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's not on my radar right now, but maybe if they show off some like cool gameplay stuff, maybe they've got a chance to win me over. But for now, especially considering how many other things are coming in February, this one's sort of not quite on my radar yet.
The one that I played, you had a gun called the dubstep gun, and you shot it at people, and they just would like pop and lock until they died.
That's crazy.
So I don't think it's going to be that. I mean, again, the one I played was set in the Matrix, so like
yeah, who knows
a bunch
if
of
they're
crazy
gonna
stuff,
reintroduce like over the top stuff like that.
Like, you would just be driving around the town, and there would be, like, a glitched-out guy wearing, like, 1,000 hats wandering around, and it was just like, oh, the Matrix is messing up. But the real thing we want to talk about, Zach, is DokeV.
Yeah. What an insane trailer. If you've not watched the trailer for this game, it's called DokeV, DokeV. Just go watch the trailer. Because it's absolutely insane. I don't know what kind of game it is, to be honest. Didn't they say...
It's like a Pokemon-esque game. It's a thing where you're capturing and taming monsters, but it seems like so much more than that.
To my eyes, I see very little of that in the trailer.
Yeah.
If any of it. So they said that, but like I'm seeing no evidence of it. I also heard it compared to like Monster Hunter. I don't know. It just looks like a crazy open world game where like the environments look very realistic, but like the character models are like these cutesy little kids looking people, and you're running around, and I guess you are sort of fighting monsters a little bit or some sort of creatures, but like maybe you're taming them and capturing them the way you would with Pokemon, but instead of like using a Pokemon to fight another Pokemon, you're actually fighting them yourself.
Well, it's interesting because like I guess we're going to start talking about this game, and as we describe it, we're going to sound as if we're insane. But there are some scenes, like there's that scene where you're fighting and there's that multicolored anteater that's right next to you, and he seems to like give you a ball. Like he puts it in front of you, and then your character kicks that ball into like a giant serpent. So I think like when you capture someone, they're basically a support character.
Okay.
A little bit like if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts, like how Goofy and Donald are, where like they're part of your team, but you're basically using their abilities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense now that you mention it.
But I don't know. Like, I don't think it's not like Pokemon where you just like throw down a ball and you just like watch two monsters go at it. Like you have like a giant hammer that you can do, or like a bouncy ball that you can act. And then at some point you do a transformation and you have a cape and you can fly, and you have like a blaster on your hand and you can shoot stuff. Like
you have everything in this game.
So these are the people that made Black Desert Online. Did you ever play that game?
Pearl Abyss. Yeah, I did not play it. I've heard the combat in that game is very good, but the concerning thing about that for me is famously that game is like overridden by microtransactions and like pay to win mechanics, and so that is sort of the thing that has me really skeptical about this game.
Yeah.
It could.
I only know about Black Desert because of the Monster Factory they did.
Creator. That's right.
That's basically the only interactions I've had with Black Desert, but the graphics are beautiful.
Yes, the graphics look very, very good, and again, I've heard the combat is very, very satisfying in that game for like what is for the most part an MMO, and MMOs, at least to my mind, don't usually have super satisfying combat. But
yeah, it's just like clicking macros and you just like watch numbers go up.
Yeah, but they've managed to make solid combat for that game. So like I am still curious about this game. I'm just a little bit wary because of the sort of microtransaction situation with Black Desert Online.
I will be very interested to see. Yeah, I want to watch someone play this because obviously they got rid of a lot of the UI. There's no UI in the trailer we saw. So I want to see like what kind of cooldowns you're looking at. I hate the look of MMOs where you have just like 100 squares on the bottom of your screen that you have to click through these attributes, you know? So I want to know more information, but I guess there's like no release date in sight. So who's to say when this is going to come out? Or like, I assume it's going to be a next-gen exclusive because the graphics look insane. But then again, I also heard that they were looking to put it on phones. So who knows? Maybe it'll be a PS4 thing as well.
Am I crazy, or is Black Desert Online also on mobile?
That would blow my mind, but
I kind of want to check now. I feel like it is, or maybe I'm thinking of
the graphics are so good.
Let me check. Yeah, there's a Black Desert mobile.
Interesting.
So you can play Black Desert Online on your phone and then pick up where you left off on your computer, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I guess so. It is a South Korean developer. So I know that, like, you know, cell phone technology is a lot different in.
Well, I mean, and you think about like Genshin Impact, which is basically Breath of the Wild that you're playing. You can play on mobile or on PC or on console.
Yeah. That's true.
I will say Pearl Abyss, I think told IGN that it's not an MMO and that it's just like an action, like open world game.
Oh.
So maybe that will put some of those fears of like microtransaction and pay to win stuff to bed a little bit, but still.
Wait, but can you play with your friends? Because it did seem like there were a number of people.
It looks like
trailers.
You could. There may be like some sort of co-op aspect of it where you can like join with like a friend's game, but I'm curious now because they said not an MMO, so I don't know how they're distinguishing that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see more. I would still encourage anyone to look up the trailer for it because it is an insane, like, and it keeps going.
Heightening.
Yeah, it kept going. It's a very long trailer, and they just like keep showing more and more insane things happening to the point where you're like, what even is this game? Like, I don't understand, but it's definitely one to keep an eye out for. I think it'll be really interesting. And I do think when it comes out, it will have like a big moment on like Twitch and YouTube where people are going crazy with it. So
I think that's true.
It's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot bigger for them than even Black Desert was. So, well, I guess we'll find out. But
I don't think that this next thing was related to Gamescom, but I guess I'm not sure. Bethesda released like 3 very, very short videos about Starfield that I didn't see publicized anywhere. They just like showed up.
They just like sent them out on their YouTube channel to like no fanfare.
It was crazy. So each of these is basically like a tiny little snippet of like, here's a world you'll visit. And like one of them is a city that was built in the sea of a planet, and it was going to be just like a fishing operation, but then they discovered that the fish have like psychotropic after effects if you eat them. So it became like this crazy pleasure dome place where they don't export the fish. You can only get these crazy fish on this planet. So you go to these like pleasure domes, basically, I think they call them. And there's any number of insane things you can do. And also you can eat these fish that make you have crazy hallucinations, which I'm sure will be crazy in the game. And then there was like
that location kind of reminded me a little bit of Star Wars The Phantom Menace when they go underwater to the Gungan homeworld.
Yeah.
Just like the building, the structure type looked very much like that. But go on and tell me about the next one as well.
Aquila is the capital city of the Freestar Collective. It's a much rougher place, populated by people who hold to the sanctity of personal freedom and individuality above everything else. So this is like the rugged one that's kind of like on the outer skirts. So this one also, this is the first time they've talked about aliens. If you venture beyond the town like ecosystem, there are dangerous hostile predators known as the Ashta, described as a cross between a wolf and a velociraptor.
That's crazy.
Which is interesting.
No, these videos, they're not showing actual like in-game footage. No. It's like some sort of...
It's all concept.
Yeah, some sort of concept art that's like sort of partially in motion. And the one you just talked about, Aquila, looks kind of like a sort of futuristic, sort of almost cyberpunky cityscape. Yeah. And go on to the next one.
New Atlantis is the last one they talked about, and it's the capital city of the United Colonies, the most powerful military and political power in Starfield. The city is a true melting pot, and its residents come from every race, creed, and ethnicity. Now, it's interesting that they said race and ethnicity as two different things, because race could be alien races. So we know about these like crazy wolf velociraptors, but they haven't really talked about playable races. We've only seen humans in the brief trailers we've gotten.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that we'll be introduced to some like other types of playable races in the coming months. But
which makes sense. I mean, it is Bethesda. If you think about Elder Scrolls, they've got like the Khajiit and the Argonians that you can play as.
Yeah, and I love to play as a Khajiit, I have to say. Yeah. Because I'm always a stealth guy.
Yeah.
But weird choice to just have these 3 videos come out. Not really, like, they could have added this. I mean, it's all concept art. Yeah. They could have talked about this at E3. I don't know why they held it back to just like a random week in August.
That's true. And I mean, they're very short videos, so it would not have eaten up too much time at a conference to have gone over this stuff. But yeah, I at least the locations that they show are like really varied. So things do look like, it does give you an impression of just how sort of diverse their environments are going to be, which is pretty cool. And it makes me think, so you are going to be flying just to like different planets, because we kind of speculated on that previously. Yeah. And this does seem to indicate that you're just going to be flying to different planets, and you'll probably have like smaller sort of open worldy little areas there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I have a prediction.
The locations look pretty cool to me. Okay, what's your prediction?
I don't think you're going to control a spaceship in this game. I think it's going to be
all automated.
Yeah, you drop into, it's going to be a Mass Effect. Basically, you have a star map. You'll probably be able to walk around your spaceship, but you're probably going to be looking at a star map, and you're going to click like, oh, I want to go to New Atlantis. And then there will be a cinematic where you land at New Atlantis and you're in the docks, and you basically just start going.
Yeah, I figured it would probably be something like that as well. You might have like, because I in that trailer they showed at E3, doesn't he get into like a smaller ship as well?
Yes, and that's another question. I don't know if...
Unless that's just the ship that you get into, which is possible.
I don't know. I'm still on the fence about whether or not you're going to get new ships or be able to customize your ship. That would be cool. But
I do think it's going to be more like Mass Effect or Outer Worlds, where you just have like a set ship, and then you just sort of navigate star maps and say, I want to go here, and then there's an animation, and then you're there.
How crazy would it be? I think I've already talked about this, but how crazy would it be if they're like, all right, let's look at the playable races. You've got the humans. Everyone knows about this. Then you've got the Khajiit. And it's like a huge reveal that this is also an Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it won't be, otherwise they would call it Elder Scrolls, but...
They could do a thing, though. Remember when Skyrim released and they did that cool thing where they had the letters for Skyrim, and then they all turned, and then it revealed that it was going to come out on 11/11/11?
Yeah.
What if they do that, where it's like Starfield, and then all the letters turn, and it says Elder Scrolls, ?
Yeah, I feel like they won't do that.
I don't know.
Like, this game would be called Elder Scrolls : Starfield.
But, I don't know. I am excited for this game, whatever it turns out to be. I love the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
Like, I keep looking at the one, like, official piece of art they've released for it is the thumbnail for all of these videos. And it's, like, basically a planet, and, like, a ship is taking off, and there's, like, a guy in a space helmet, and another guy, and a lady. And also, the thing I keep looking at is that robot, and it looks so cool. It's such a unique design for a robot, and I just it makes me very excited for that world.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bethesda RPGs already. Like, I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls games and the Fallout games, so giving me like a futuristic, like sci-fi version of that, it sounds right up my alley in every way possible. So
yeah,
I'm very, very excited for Starfield, and it comes out next year in November, so we got a long time to wait. I'm sure E3 they're gonna do like a big presentation.
Oh yeah,
and that's
gonna
awesome.
be that's gonna win E3 next year, I bet, if it looks good.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gonna roll out Todd Howard. They're gonna set him down on the stage, and he's just gonna talk for like probably 30 minutes about, like, here's a gameplay demo, here's a full quest of, that's what we wanted to happen this year, but it's going to happen next year, and it's going to be great. Do you think we'll see anything at the Game Awards?
That's a good question. I hope so, but my guess would be no. They'll probably save that for E3 next year. Plus, I'm sure they got a lot of other stuff going on that they can show at Game Awards.
Let's do this. What is more likely to be seen at the Game Awards, which is not that long away? It's only a couple months away, and it usually is in the end of November or the first part of December, right?
Yeah.
What's more likely? More Starfield footage of any kind, or more footage of Breath of the Wild of any kind? Breath of the Wild 2, I should say. He's got a good relationship with Nintendo.
That's a good question, because I feel like they always show something Zelda at Game Awards, but maybe that's just because it's panned out where they had stuff to show for Breath of the Wild. But
that's where they released the trailer and the release date, because it was day of release for the Breath of the Wild DLC. We got that crazy trailer where you had the motorcycle, and then he was like, "Guess what? It's out now."
I feel like Game Awards could be a good bet to show a trailer that has like a release date for Breath of the Wild 2 as sometime next fall.
Oh, really? You're thinking fall?
Yeah, I feel like we would know already by now if they were going to do a spring release, but I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they do like a March release, because that's when Breath of the Wild, the first one, came out.
Yeah, it would match up, March 3rd.
So, I mean, they could still do that. Would they do it at Game Awards, or would they do their own Nintendo Direct, is the question.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Because I feel like there will be a Zelda Direct where they really like deep dive on it and give a release date at some point, either later this year or sometime next year.
And let's not forget, there's still one more the final Smash character to be revealed.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be in that Game Awards show.
If not before, definitely at the Game Awards. Because I feel like so many of them have been revealed at the Game Awards.
Yeah. So that's a possibility. It wouldn't surprise me if they showed something Starfield at Game Awards, but I don't know if it's going to be anything super meaty, just because obviously it's not coming out until November of 2022. And
it's a little bit worrying that they just had concept art to show us.
Oh, you mean just like now?
Yeah, like I feel like it should be far enough along where we could see a real picture instead of just like an artist's rendering.
I mean, Todd Howard said the game was in a playable state as far back as 2018. So I don't know. I just think it's all been colored by that Jason Schreier article on Anthem now. Like I feel like it could have been playable, but it was a completely different game in 2018. Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's a fair point that a lot of games don't really come into clear view until like the last 6 months to a year of their development. But I don't know. I hope we see something at Game Awards, but I'm guessing that the most they're going to show is going to be at E3 next year.
I think you're right.
And I don't know, because they are now under Microsoft, and that's got to be part of the Microsoft showcase. I wonder if we're going to get the same Fallout 4 style deep dive on what's going on.
I think we will, because they know what they have. Skyrim is a gigantic game that's released 18 times on so many different platforms with so many different editions.
Speaking of which, there's another release of that game.
Yeah, you can fish now. Yeah. You can go ahead
and they added more stuff to that. It's crazy to me that they've gone back into that game.
When was the last time you played Skyrim? I probably haven't started a playthrough. I think the last time I did it was maybe 3 years ago.
I mean, I own Skyrim on every platform at this point.
As do I.
And the last time I played it was probably over a year, but I've played.
What was the main place you played it? Because for me, I played it a majority of my time on 360 way back in the day.
Well, I mean, so I started it on 360, but I played through all of the guild quest lines. But I don't think I made it all the way through the main storyline on my 360 playthrough. And then they did the special edition release on PS4, and that's when I think I probably put played most of that game on PS4.
Which that has all the DLC included in it, right?
And then it was on sale after I'd gotten my PC, and so I got it again. But I didn't play much on PC because I wanted to check out mods and stuff, and so I did very, very little of that. But I got distracted by other things, and so I did not end up playing very much on PC. And then I got it later as a gift on Switch, and I played maybe about half the game on Switch. But I think I played most of it on PS4. I played probably the furthest through the game in PS4.
Another thing about Starfield is it's for some amount of time not coming out for PlayStation.
You think it's not coming out on PlayStation? Was that what they said?
Didn't they say that at E3? Didn't they say it was an Xbox exclusive?
Yeah, I think you're right. They did say that. That is kind of a bummer, but
which makes me think it'll definitely be front and center, because it's a gold mine.
Yeah.
They have to roll Todd Howard out, and he's going to be this is all the great things about this. You can only play this on a PC or an Xbox. PlayStation 5
yeah,
owners,
I mean, it probably will be their headline game at E3 next year for Microsoft. I'm just curious because the reason they were able to deep dive on Elder Scrolls and Fallout in the past was because it was a Bethesda only show.
It's true.
And they had to fill an hour, and that was their main showcase was that one game. And I'm curious, because they're now part of Microsoft, if they end up getting a much smaller window to show what they can.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Regardless, I'm very excited to see more information about it.
Yeah, I am as well. Before we move on to other stuff, speaking of Microsoft, I did want to just point this out. The most interesting thing that I think they had to say this last week, and not to sort of slight the show that they had, because I didn't think they had much of interest, at least for me, to show during their Microsoft Gamescom showcase. But the most interesting thing I thought that they talked about this last week was bringing xCloud, or I guess they don't call it that anymore, but they're bringing cloud gaming to last-gen hardware as well. So in doing that, they're going to be able to bring next-gen games to last-gen Xbox consoles, which I thought was such a like brilliant application of cloud gaming. Like, especially now that because people cannot buy an Xbox Series X if they wanted one, just because consoles are so hard to come by. I think it's awesome that they're making it so that if you sign up for Game Pass Ultimate and you get access to cloud gaming, you could be playing Starfield on your Xbox One next year, even though the game did not get an official release for Xbox One. Like, you and I have been very pro cloud gaming from the start. So I think it's cool that they're doing that. And like, for me, I think, like, because we're more sort of PlayStation people at this point, it would be very cool if Sony had something similar. They don't, but it would be awesome if, like, you could play Horizon Forbidden West, for instance, on your PS4 through cloud gaming.
That would be crazy, because that game is probably going to look beautiful, and if you don't have a great graphics card, it will look the best if you stream it.
Yeah, so I think it's very cool that they're doing that. It was sort of like a footnote in a blog that they said, so it was not like big news, but I was like, man, that makes so much sense. And we'll make it so that they're not sort of leaving behind their Xbox One gamers who have not been able to upgrade consoles. But I don't know. I think it's very cool news that they just sort of glossed over a little bit.
Let's talk about some Psychonauts 2, because I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it. You've been playing it. It came out this week.
Yeah, I've put some time into it. I hear it's about 10 hours. I did not play the first Psychonauts, so I don't have that sort of history of the franchise and what happened in the previous game. And I can tell at multiple points they have sort of referenced things that had happened in the last game, and I was like, oh, I don't get what's happening right now. And there is sort of like an animation at the very beginning of the game that sort of recaps what happened in the first game. But yeah, it's just a platformer where you're sort of going around and you have different things you're collecting, and you can sort of level up, and you have different abilities for combat, and it's going through like a fairly cinematic story as well. It could have been like an animated movie that would be fun. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I think it's a fun game. Right now anyway, I've not finished it, but right now, if I had to sort of compare similar games that are like platformers that have some action, and they're sort of a little bit akin to like experiencing an animated movie, I would put this one just behind Ratchet and Clank from earlier this year. I think praise. Maybe I enjoyed that game more, but I'm enjoying Psychonauts as well. I think it's delivering fairly similarly on like sort of a cinematic animated movie that you just happen to be able to like be involved in the action. So I think it's pretty cool. It's got like a really unique art style that as somebody who likes sort of those Tim Burton, Henry Selick, animated movies that have that specific sort of art style to them. Psychonauts, the art style of it, and just sort of the character models definitely remind me of that style of animation. So I'm enjoying that aspect of it as well. I recommend it if you have Game Pass. There's no reason not to just download it and check it out. The one thing I'll say, so the most frustrating thing about it has nothing to do with the game. It has everything to do with the Microsoft like PC Xbox launcher, that does not it's not just plug and play. If you've got like a PS4 controller or a Stadia controller that I have, I had to break out my old Xbox 360 controller and plug that into my computer. And the problem with my old Xbox 360 controller is that the left bumper does not work very well. You have to really mash it in order to get it to register. And so I've been struggling with it a little bit for that. I might just pick up an Xbox One controller just to have for playing Xbox games on my PC because, they're not like Steam where everything's pretty plug and play. Like I can even plug in my Stadia controller and use that to play games through Steam.
Oh, I should try to do that.
I think I did have to like set up a profile for it, but like
I have like whenever I play games on my computer, I have a super old one of those like clear afterglow Xbox 360 controllers, you know, which still works fine, but I much prefer the Stadia controller, so I should try to pair that.
Yeah, it was not difficult. Like they make it pretty simple to like set it up, and I think you just tell it like you give it the Xbox button layout, and then you're just good to go. You like name it whatever you want it and want to call it, and every time you plug it in, it recognizes it. So either that or just plug in one of your PS4 controllers. That works too. But same thing with Stadia. If you're playing games on Stadia on your computer, you can just plug in a PS4 controller and it'll recognize that immediately and know what to do with like the button input in terms of like when you're in game and it's like here's a button prompt, it like recognizes that. But yeah, the Microsoft Xbox for PC launcher, not so much. You pretty much have to use an Xbox controller. So I think I'm gonna get an Xbox One controller specifically for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying Psychonauts 2, and I recommend it.
I might check it out because I eventually at some point will get Game Pass. So
I finally did pick up or sub to Game Pass because they had like that deal. It was like $1 for 3 months, and I wanted to check out The Ascent, and I knew Psychonauts 2 was coming out, and I wanted to check this game out as well. And so I did it. I finally subbed to Game Pass for PC. So they get a lot of stuff with it. You get all the Bethesda stuff. So
you know it's integrated into Windows 11.
Is it?
Yeah, like Game Pass is just like a part of the OS.
That's cool. I guess technically,
it'll have better integration.
That's true of like Xbox for previous versions of Windows as well. Cause
yeah, I mean, there was always that Xbox Live thing you have to turn off. I don't remember what it was, but I was working at I'm like a tech support guy in my other life, for the audience that doesn't know. And I had to do this thing. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was some program that I had installed on a bunch of computers, and it would like trigger the Xbox like feature menu, and so I had to disable that on like 100 computers one time.
That's kind of like whenever I plug in a controller, like if I'm trying to play a game on Stadia on my computer and I plug in my Stadia controller and I hit the Stadia button, it tries to launch Steam and all of that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm trying to play something else.
Speaking of playing something else, I have been playing Ghosts of Tsushima, which you got the Ghosts of Tsushima director's cut recently.
I did, yeah. So I've jumped into a little bit of the DLC, the Icky Island DLC, and it's cool to be back in the game. I had to kind of reorient myself to the controls and how combat worked and everything, but I've just gone to the new area that you can go to for the DLC, and so I'm working my way through that. And I did pause so I can play through Psychonauts, but because that's a shorter game, and then I'll get back to more of the DLC. But I'm enjoying it. It looks great on my PS5. I like that they've added PS5 controller support stuff now. So like when you pull the left trigger to like draw an arrow, you sort of feel the tension of pulling back your bow. Ooh. and releasing it. So that they've got cool stuff like that going on, and yeah, it's awesome. Like I loved Ghost of Tsushima when I played it on my PS4, and to now be like revisiting it with like some new content is cool. I might even jump into that cooperative mode, Legends, because I enjoyed that when it initially came out. Always meant to go back and play more of it, but now that I have it on PS5 and it's going to look even better, it's probably something I should do.
Yeah, so I'm playing it for the first time because when I saw a sale for it since the director's cut was coming out. So I picked it up on PS4, and I've really been enjoying it. It took me a while to get used to the combat, and I am playing it on easy because I am bad at video games. But it's a beautiful game, and I just like keep wanting. It's also really easy to pick up for like 10 minutes and get something done and put it back down.
Yeah, it's one of those open worlds that you can just sort of go explore for a while and do a few things.
There's so much stuff everywhere.
Yeah, and it kind of has that Far Cry thing of like go clear out the enemy base, which is a thing that I like, even if, I don't know, I think some people are mixed on that, but
I do wish that the stealth was a little more robust. Like I can assassinate people and I can chain assassinations, but I thought with the ghost stuff I was going to get more interesting stealth ability. Maybe I just haven't gotten that yet.
I was going to say they've got quite a few things to unlock in the like stealth skill tree.
Yeah, maybe I just haven't looked into that as much, but because I've been putting a lot of stuff into like the stances, because you recommended that I get more into the stances.
Yeah,
and that has helped a lot. But yeah, it's I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited to see where the story goes, and I have barely scratched the surface of it. I think I've only played like maybe like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, it was my favorite game the year it came out. Was that last year? It feels like ages ago, but yeah, last year. It was probably my favorite game of 2020, and I don't know, I put a lot of time into it and really enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to getting back to it and playing more of that DLC. So I recommend the director's cut. I will say it's a lot of people I think were not happy that they were sort of being upcharged to upgrade to the PS5 version if they already had gotten it on PS4, but I think it's like $20, but you're getting the DLC with it. So to my mind, you're just buying a DLC. I don't know. So I don't think
that's what it seems like to me. Yeah, that seems totally acceptable.
Yeah, which I think is fine. So
did you watch Jungle Cruise?
I did. So I watched it on the plane when I was coming back from vacation.
Oh.
So it was pretty good, I guess. It was very sort of derivative of Pirates of the Caribbean, to be honest. But
I watched it as well, and I felt like it was derivative of The Mummy.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's basically a combination of Pirates of the Caribbean and The Mummy and
I think that's true.
Indiana Jones. Yeah. Like, you throw those three into the bowl and you stir them up and you get Jungle Cruise.
I like The Rock a lot. Less so now that his Instagram is mostly about his tequila. But it's weird for me to see him in a romantic role.
That like was strange to me. When he wound up
being, I don't see him as someone who is. I mean, he's just like I see him as more of like a father figure, kind of removed from the world of romance. Yeah. So that was a little weird to me. But I mean, I would watch a sequel to this. I mean, I thought it was good. Did you? How was it to watch on a plane?
It was fine. I don't know. I enjoyed it as much as you can while watching a movie on a plane.
It wasn't The Mummy or Pirates of the Caribbean, I'll say that. It was not at that level.
Firmly below the level of those movies, I would say. But yeah, I thought it was fine. They definitely worked in some references to like the ride if you go to Disney World.
Oh yeah, I saw, without even going on the ride, I recognized a bunch of stuff that I was like, oh yeah, this is clearly from the ride.
They had like a lot of lines that were like those punny jokes that they make as they're sort of narrating the Jungle Cruise, and so there was a lot of references in that way. But I don't know. I thought it was fine. You worry that it's going to be bad because I feel like a lot of movies these days are just awful. And I feel like this was not awful for a lot of the reasons you expect movies today to be awful.
Yeah. I agree. I aside from the weird relationship they had, which again, I like The Rock. I can't see him
as a romantic lead.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know why. It just doesn't make sense to me in my head. He's
an action movie guy.
He's just like, yeah, he's an action guy, you know? I don't know. But yeah, I also found it pretty enjoyable.
Yeah. The other thing I've been watching this week, because I've been kind of sick, and so it's just been nice to like sit back and watch something, is I actually watched through the first season of Wellington Paranormal, which is...
we are on the same wavelength. I also watched that.
So it's on HBO Max, and I think they've done like 3 seasons now, and for whatever reason on HBO Max, I can only get the first like 2 episodes of season 2.
Yeah, I didn't. I think they're doing them like week to week. They're releasing because I think they come out on the CW first, and then like a week later they come out on HBO Max.
Okay, that makes sense.
I haven't started season 2 yet, but I really like it.
Yeah, me too. I saw the first episode a long time ago, and I was not sure if I was gonna enjoy it or if it was something I really cared enough to like watch more of. But I'm really enjoying it to the point where I'm like hotly anticipating whenever they give me that next episode to watch.
I think they drop on Mondays.
Do they? That's good to know. Well, and I think this next week, What We Do in the Shadows is going to start back up again for season 3. So you're going to be watching 2 different things from the same universe, the same sort of Taika Waititi, funny like vampire universe.
Yeah, I'm very excited I saw a review of the 3rd season of What We Do in the Shadows that was basically just like, this is the best the show has ever been. It's only getting better. Like, they're building on it perfectly, and it's like, if you haven't started watching it, now is the time to start watching it. So I'm very excited for this new season.
Yeah, I thought the first season of What We Do in the Shadows was kind of just okay, and I thought the second season got much better, and so I'm very much looking forward to what they do with season 3.
A great time to have HBO Max.
Yeah. Well, I don't think What We Do in the Shadows is coming to HBO Max, is it?
Isn't? I thought. Oh no, I'm sorry. I think that's on Hulu. Yeah, you're right.
I just buy the seasons on Google Play and watch them that way. But so we did do a video going back to games on Dreamscaper, and we did a video on Cultic. Those videos are up on our YouTube channel. I liked Dreamscaper quite a bit. I'm still sort of playing it. I guess I've taken a break to play Ghost of Tsushima and Psychonauts, but what did you think of that game?
The art style is very beautiful. I'm interested in it, but I just have not downloaded it yet.
Yeah, it's sort of a Hades-like if you have not seen our video.
Yeah, it is very similar to Hades, yeah.
Yeah, so if you like roguelikes that are satisfying because you go back to sort of a hub world and push the story forward and get to know these side characters and sort of get some upgrades that carry over from run to run. It's that kind of a game. And so I
will say, I think one of the reasons I haven't downloaded it yet, I forget if I talked about this, but I beat Death's Door, that little crow game.
Oh, yeah.
And so I am a little bit like burned out on just like top perspective running around attacking things games at the moment.
Gotcha.
But when I get back into it, this is my next, like, I put it on my wish list.
Yeah, I need to go back and play Death's Door. My plan was to play through Psychonauts and go finish the Ghost of Tsushima DLC, and then the next thing I play after that will probably be Death's Door, because I started it and I've heard nothing but good things about the game, and then I went on vacation and I have not been back to it yet. So
it's great. The music is wonderful. There are some parts where I got really stuck as far as difficulty.
Is there like a difficulty setting or?
I'm not sure. There might be. I actually don't know if that is true or not. But I just had to keep kind of banging my head against a wall, and I eventually got through them. It was like one boss that I found to be very difficult, and then the final boss was just like something I really had to put my mind to beat.
Well,
but again, I am bad at video games, so.
I mean, I'm fairly bad at them as well. Speaking of games that I had to turn the difficulty down a little bit on, I played through Young Souls because I was sick. That's this Stadia. It's a timed exclusive for Stadia. but it will be coming to other consoles. I think even later this year, or it might be next year, but I highly recommend Young Souls. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's sort of a side-scrolling beat-em-up game that sort of reminded me of Castle Crashers a little bit. They are definitely telling more of a story with Young Souls than they did with Castle Crashers, but it's like a melee combat game where you're sort of you're getting all these different weapons and you're upgrading them. It is sort of an RPG where so at the beginning of the game when you first start, it asks you what difficulty you want to choose. And the one that it's on by default is called Balanced. And then like the next difficulty up in terms of like increasing the challenge is the one that they actually recommended. Like there in parentheses, it says recommended. And so I went with that and I started the game out on that difficulty. And I got to a point where like I realized what was happening was I would get to like a boss fight and I would just keep failing it until I eventually earned enough XP to level up. And once I did that, I was able to get through the boss. And I was like, well, that just makes the game really grindy. And so I was like, I'm not enjoying it for that. So I just turned it down to Balanced and just proceeded through the game that way. And I got through the game fine. Not that it was like easy from that point. There's still like, it feels like there's to use their own language, a much more balanced amount of challenge to it that felt much more satisfying to me. But it's one of these games where you have like one button for melee attacks, and then you have like a ranged weapon, and you have a dodge roll, and you have like a shield that if you time the shield right as an attack is incoming, you do like a parry that like slows down time and gives you a little bit of like magic ability regeneration. And the magic abilities that you have are tied to whatever weapon you're using. And there are different weapon types. There's like sort of two swords, like short swords, and then there's like a normal sword and shield, and then there's like the heavy weapons. And there are like axes and swords and hammers and all that kind of thing that you're constantly finding as you go. And yeah, I don't know. I ended up really enjoying it, even though I feel like the game almost has like a different timing window depending on like if you're facing like normal common enemies that you're going through these different levels of fighting, and then when you get to a boss fight, like the timing window is a little bit shorter. And so I kind of struggled with some of the boss fights based solely on that, where it was like, you've changed the timing window on me, and that's why I'm struggling. It's not because I don't have a good handle on these mechanics. It's because I'm having to adjust.
You have to relearn them.
Yeah, I have to, like, during the boss fight, learn a different timing window. And so I felt like I struggled a little bit because of that. But, like, it's cool because they're you're playing these twins, and they have all the same abilities, but you can, like, swap them out. And they might have, like, I guess depending on how you kit them out, like if you give one person a different armor set, like maybe one of them is like immune to fire damage, and maybe one of them that you have like a heavy armor set, so they have a little bit more health and armor. Like you can kind of spec them out a little bit differently in that way, and so you can swap back and forth between them at any time during a level. And so you might do that depending on what enemies you're facing. Or if like one of the characters you're playing gets hit and gets stunned or whatever, you just swap to the other character and do some fighting and then swap back again or something like that. So it was cool how you could swap around that way as well. I thought, I don't know. I highly recommend the game. It was like $25. I played it on Stadia, and it's like it's a relatively short experience as well. So it's not like it's going to eat up a ton of your time, but it felt like a good amount of game as well. Like I said, I was sick over this last weekend, and so I just kind of marathoned the game and had a good time with it. So I will say it did crash on me a number of times.
Really? On Stadia?
Yeah. So I'm hopefully the developer is good about getting some updates in there and fixing some things, but and I was able to determine that it was just the game and not Stadia and not the hardware I was running it on, because I also, like, after I finished the game, I started playing more Ys 9, which is the game I've been playing on Stadia, and that game was running fine. So it was not a case of Stadia was crashing. It was literally Young Souls, the game, that was crashing. So, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, hopefully they do some updates and make that not be the case. And of course, I'm sure by the time it comes out on other systems that they'll have worked out whatever that problem is. But well, do you have any parting wisdom?
I'm going to cede this time to you, Zach, because you actually gave me a little bit of a tutorial before we recorded. I'd like for you to talk about coffee for a second, because you gave me a lot of good tips that I did not know right before we started recording.
Well, we've kind of talked about it on the show before, but
What's the company that you get your coffee from?
I usually get it from a place called Black and White Coffee. If you just like Google search Black and White Coffee, you'll be able to find them. I think their website is like black and white or blackwhiteroasters.com, and just look for single origin coffee and like just read off the descriptions that have like the different tasting
flavor
notes.
Those were crazy. Yeah.
And your mind will be blown. But it's like the best coffee I've ever had. And so I keep going back to them for more. But yeah, so I do pour over. I also have an AeroPress, but I mainly use my Chemex. And you gotta follow the recipe of when you're brewing your coffee. You gotta use the right amount of coffee and use the right temperature of water, and you gotta time it out when you're brewing it. Don't just eyeball it, because that's not how you make literally anything else. If you're making food, you don't just eyeball it. So, I don't know. I highly recommend checking out Black White Roasters. Not a sponsor. Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe one day. If they, by some miracle, somebody who works there listens to our show. I don't know. I don't get grocery store coffee anymore. I can't do it. I've been spoiled on this good stuff, so.
There you go. Well, we will catch you guys next time on the next episode of Starside Chat.
Yeah, follow our social media channels as well. Follow us on Twitter at Starside Cafe, and follow our YouTube channel. If you just search for Starside Cafe, you can check out the videos we've done. I did put up a video about Young Souls. Like I said, we've got videos about Dreamscaper and Cultic, the demo for Cultic. Those are up. Those went up this last week, so check those out. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.